Hi there folks, this is Infected One, and I have taken upon myself to make a tutorial series for Stalker Gamma, with the hope of making it less overwhelming and more accessible to the Stalker enthusiasts. Each episode is going to be focused on a specific subject because of the sheer amount of detail and information. And now before we start this episode, please leave a like and subscribe to this channel for more awesome content. Welcome everyone to another episode of the Stalker Gamma Noob Guide. And on this one, we are going to learn all about adding bling to your belt, starting with understanding artifacts, then moving over to the other belt items, and ending with tips for what I think are the best combos. Alright, let's talk artifacts, the diamonds of the zone, usable both for personal enhancement or profit. Coming in various tiers with various properties, these items are a major part of the Stalker universe. So artifacts are coming in 5 tiers. There's 1 arrow, then 2 arrow, then 3 arrows, and at the end there are 4 arrows. The 5th tier are basically called perk artifacts because they're artifacts which don't have a tier and they give you perks instead of base stats, and they don't have any markers next to them, and they do say in the properties that they are perk artifacts. Now most of the perk artifacts are kinda poopy, but some of them, like the ball for example, is nice, but only if you can stack 5 of them on your belt. You can instantly kill pseudo giants and chimeras with the push of a button, which is pretty cool. Also a difference between perk artifacts and the rest of the artifacts is that you don't need a detector for them to appear. You can simply roam around the earth and you can see them just lying there, as opposed to artifacts they do need a detector. For example, now if I pull out my detector, you can see that the goldfish immediately appears, as opposed to the perk artifacts, which don't really care about your detector. Now usually fire artifacts spawn in fire anomalies, electrical artifacts spawn in electrical anomalies, although as you can see only one of them actually gives you electrical resistance. But they're blue, you know, it works. Color scheming. Chemical resistant ones spawn in the chemical anomalies. And now explosive and ballistic resistance usually goes in gravitational anomalies. And why I'm saying usually is because I don't know why. Everywhere I go, I found stone flowers. I literally have 14 of them. This useless piece of garbage is only good for crafting lobster eyes. That's his purpose in life. So just be wary. Going to one specific anomaly might not net you the category of artifacts you're looking for. The chances are obviously higher, but it's not gonna give you it 100%. And that's mostly because a lot of anomaly zones actually are an amalgamation of 2 anomaly types. Some of them go fire and gravitational, some of them go chemical and gravitational. So the more specific the anomalous zone you are going to farm artifacts on, the more chances you're gonna get a specific type of artifacts. Okay, continuing to crafting artifacts. To craft artifacts or repair artifacts, because they do have condition, you need the artifact melter. It's basically like a toolkit but for artifacts. The artifact melter has 3 properties, starting with fusion. Fusing artifacts is basically the working bench for artifacts. You can do it even with the artifact melter in your inventory. Just right click and fuse, and basically takes you to this list. Now initially, the first time you try to fuse artifacts, you have access only to the tier 1 artifacts. The tier 2, 3 and 4, they are in need of recipe books. The Art of Artifacts Fusion Volume 1 is available from Dr. Sakharov, or Professor Sakharov, whatever the fuck his rank is, in Yantar, and he sells it even on supply level 1. And the books for the Art of Artifacts Fusion Volume 2 and 3 are available from Professor, or Dr. I don't know, Herman, in the mobile lab in Jupiter, which is probably only going to be accessible to you after you switched off the miracle machine and the radar. Now a tip I can give you is what I usually do. I take a workbench and I make it an artifact, ammo and health items workbench, meaning I put in all the artifacts I find, an artifact melter, a gunsmithing toolkit, the basic tools just because I can, and the drug making kit. Everything which is craftable for health and ammunition, and artifacts which require also mutant parts, we're going to talk about that, and the artifacts themselves go exactly into this workbench. But that's how I do it. You can do it however the fuck you want. So basically to fuse artifacts, you just shove the artifact melter in and then you press use workshop. You lag for a second because it loads the entire inventory, and then you go to the artifact section and then you choose the battery artifact, for example, and it needs dog liver, cat tail and 1 generator, and then all you have to do is press craft and it's gonna craft a battery. battery. Now a few things to notice. I've just crafted this here battery. As you can see, the artifact melter had 10 uses and it remained at 10 uses. It seems that artifact melters only lose a use when you empower artifacts. And now you're probably asking, why did it make a battery and the condition of the battery is 31%? This happens basically because when you craft an artifact, you fuse two artifacts together and the average condition of both artifacts is gonna be the condition of the artifact you create, which makes sense. In the case of the battery, it was created from mutant parts and a perctifact. Perctifact did not have condition because the tier 1 artifacts, they always need a perctifact to be created. The fusion ladder is pretty simple. You need perctifacts, which are the lowest ones, to create tier 1s. You need tier 1s to create tier 2s. You need tier 2s to create tier 3s. And you need tier 3s to create a tier 4. It all makes sense. Also, as you can see, mutant parts have a lot of influence on crafting artifacts. It's a very important necessity, and as you can see, every recipe calls for a mutant part. Whether it's mutant parts or mutant meat, which you should keep in the freezer and not in the workbench because it's gonna go rotten. Now let's talk about artifact empowering, basically repairing artifacts. In your inventory, and not in the workbench, you do empower artifacts. Now you choose the artifact you want to empower, and you choose the same artifact. You have to have a bunch of them because the artifact is only empowered by the same artifact. You cannot repair an artifact with different artifacts, only with the same one. So we choose the artifact we want to repair, and then we choose what we want to repair with, which is probably the same artifact, but another, and we press repair. And then you have the 77% one and the 30% one. Press the 77 again, you choose another one, and you do repair. And that's about it. Okay, the last property of the artifact melter is artifact melting. It's basically sacrificing artifacts to get artifact melter uses. I don't really use this because I find a lot of artifact melters in stashes, and you can also buy them from level 1 ecologist bosses like Sakharov and that other dude, I don't remember, Herman, that's his name. Any case, if you wanna melt some artifacts, and I presume perctifacts are your go-to, you can always hover this thing, hold Alt, and just drop it like this. You hold left alt, it really says it right in the description. You hold the key left alt on your keyboard, and then you hover over the thing you want to melt, and you do like this. Boom. Just like that, we got some uses. Now there's a lot of perctifacts in this game, and a tip from me, if you're not gonna use the perctifacts, some of them, I don't want to shit on them. Some of them are fun to use, they're nice. Most of them are not, eventually, and you want to keep only those which are used in crafting tier 1 artifacts. The rest you want to sell. So I usually just hoard a lot of thistles and let's say tapeworms, because as you can see, you hover over, they're not necessary in any crafting. You can also use perctifacts to do this. It's pretty cool and they glow around and you always see them. Very important note, do not sell your perctifacts or any artifact you want to sell to a non-ecologist trader. Ecologists pay double the price usually. For example, let's say this sourpuss for skinflint worth only 330 rubles. But now that we've come to Professor Sakharov, you can see that for the same sourpuss, he's paying double the price, 664 rubles. So it's always worth keeping a bunch of artifacts and then traveling to whatever ecologist trader you want and selling all your artifacts in bulk. Now, just like the artifacts have tiers, the detectors that find the artifacts also have tiers. You probably start out with the Echo detector, which is tier 1, and it detects only common artifacts, meaning artifacts tier 1. Then you're gonna upgrade yourself to the Bear detectors, which is a tier 2 detector which finds both tier 1 and tier 2 artifacts. After that, you're going to upgrade to the Grizzly detector, which is capable of locating all artifacts known to science. Basically 1, 2 and 3 tiers of artifacts. And after that, you're gonna upgrade to the Big Boy Svarog detector, which is not only capable of finding all artifacts, it's also showing you the anomalous zones, so you cannot step your foot in them if you're watching the screen. Now these artifacts, the tier 4 and the not, are most likely not available to find and only to fuse. I've never in my life, no matter where I went in the zone, have seen a tier 4 artifacts just pop out of an anomaly. It just doesn't happen. Even tier 3 artifacts are pretty rare, but the most I've ever seen dropping from an anomaly was a tier 3 artifact. If you want to make tier 4 artifacts, you better grind. Now when you're just starting out the game, I urge you, do not go artifact hunting in heat or chemical anomalies, because they are the anomalous zones that have an AoE effect of damage. You don't even have to step into the anomalies itself to get the damage. For example, let me go closer to this fire anomaly, and you can see I instantly start draining health without even stepping in one of these anomalies. I did, however, remove my cool exoskeleton, my Volat Emerald, which is one of the best artifacts in the game, to show you that without a very high burn resistance, you're gonna burn, baby. And the same goes for chemical anomalies. So before going artifact hunting in chemical or fire anomalies, I urge you to find one of these SSP-99M scientific suits and the helmet, which is also very good for fighting heat and chemical resistance. Fix them up, upgrade them, and only then you can go in. My chem resistance right now with the Nosorog and the Volat Emerald and the fucking Exo helmet is 82. Look at this, I'm just going near. And I'm already losing health just by standing here. So you can imagine how bad it's gonna be with beginner armors. And also it destroys your armor. And another great addition is having the Surge Suppressor. No matter what level, either level 1 or level 2, you just slap on this, and then you slap on this, and bam, we're already 95. And although it still hurts, it does not hurt as much. As you can see, I'm standing here. My health does drain a tiny bit, but it's very slow compared to with the exoskeleton. So as you start artifact hunting, the Surge Suppressor and the upgraded version of the Surge Suppressor are your best friends. The amount of defense they give you and the cap raising that they give you is crazy good. And what is cap basically? As you can see, you have the resistance that you have right now. And there's also another number on the side. Now usually they're all capped at 65, unless you get something that is raising your resistance cap. For example, this Volat Emerald, as you can see all the 3 green squares, they increase the cap of electrical, burning and chemical resistance, meaning I can make the cap higher than 65. Also very important. And now as opposed to chemical and fire anomaly fields, I do urge you to go into electrical and gravitational anomaly fields, as they do not have a strong or any area of effect damage. It's basically just a maze where you have to throw around some bolts and look for a reaction. Now even if you don't have a fancy detector like I do, you can just throw some bolts and you know you can come through here and just roam around. You throw some bolts, okay, this is danger. This is not danger, and you just go towards the artifact beeping, you know? And as I said, electrical anomaly fields are the same. You basically just have to not get zapped by this zappimic zap, and you'll be fine. Now as you can see, I took off my armor. I basically have 0 electrical resistance. And I'm all good. Even if there is a little bit of area of effect damage from the electro anomalies, which gravitational anomalies do not have, it's not a lot. Even without any resistance, you can still safely go, collect the artifact, just like so, and get the hell out. Of course, I can do it easily with my cool detector. The only difference is that you're gonna have to throw some extra bolts. And that's about it. Last tip I can give you about artifact hunting is when you roam around the zone, always keep your eyes open for this symbol down below. It's a passive, it's toggleable of course in the settings, but that means you have an artifact next to you. They can also spawn in any anomaly. It doesn't have to be a big anomalous zone, it can also be on the road somewhere. The artifact might have rolled away. Just keep your eyes open. You're gonna be surprised how many artifacts are just laying randomly around the zone. Now coming back to the mutant parts. I cannot stress this enough, they are very important for your artifact fusing. Every single mutant part in the game, except this stupid Tushkano head, I don't know what's wrong with it, is used to craft a certain artifact. So always think twice before you give in a Chimera heart for a quest. These things are hard to get and you probably need a lot of them to craft the high tier artifacts. This is actually my problem right now. I need so many Chimera hearts because I want to make a knot and I want to make a compass, but fuck, they barely drop. So this is where this Hunter's Kit comes into play. You can either buy it or craft it in the workbench, which is what I suggest because it's way cheaper. And what it actually does, it gives you a chance to double a certain specific mutant loot from a mutant you just skinned. The easiest way to explain this is basically, let's say a Chimera drops a Chimera heart. This has a chance to make it 2 Chimera hearts. I don't know how it works, but it makes 2 Chimera hearts. So every item that is preset to spawn from a skinned mutant might be doubled. All thanks to this cute Hunter's Kit, which is weighing only 1.7 kilos. You should grab it as fast as possible and carry it around at all times. And we cannot talk about mutant parts that are needed for fusing artifacts without mentioning that mutants actually drop a belt utility item just like an artifact from skinning them. It's hides and skins. So as you can see, we have like a Psysucker skin, we have a Chimera hide, we have like a Psydog fur, and they all give you base stats based on their condition. If I go for example for the Lurker skin, you can see 55% gives you less stuff than an 86, which makes sense. It works like anything, like artifacts, like armors, etc. So now I'm gonna teach you exactly how this works. You need a skin to skin any animal in the game, any mutant that is. You start with a shitty one, and eventually when you get a supply level which is high, you can buy great one like the Kukri. Somewhere around in the middle, the hunting knife gives you the addition to cut think mutant skins, which is basically high tier mutants. You cannot loot high tier mutants like Chimera, Pseudogiants without having at least a hunting knife. And also, the better the knife, the better the mutant pelt quality is gonna be, if it drops of course. You can see the shittiest bayonet gives you a mutant pelt quality which is ranging from 25% to 40%, while the knife I have, which is costing 42k, gives you between 75 to 98%. You can always hold control and hover over the pelts to know what stats are gonna be at 100%. For example, this flesh hide is gonna be 30 stamina and 30 chemical resistance at 100%. This way you know how to evaluate what the maximum is gonna be. Mutant pelts are a must on any belt, The downside being you cannot equip more than 1 pelt. As you can see, I'm not going anywhere without my Pseudogiant hide, which gives great rapture and ballistic resistance. I also always carry with me a Chimera hide because it gives me plus 20%, because it gives me plus 20 kg to carry around, and even some health restoration and stamina for running around with the thick loot. And yes, the Hunter's Kit has a chance to make it 2 pelts instead of 1, which is amazing. Now it's time to talk about the other belt utility, which are basically the devices you can either buy from a trader or craft yourself, except for the Kevlar plates, which are only a buy from a trader and you can't get them at supply level 1. I think they come in supply level 2, but I'm not certain. Now as you know, I really love the Surge Suppressor for artifact hunting. I will not equip it if I'm not artifact hunting because I don't see the point. And I'm a big loot guy, and I think everybody is when they're playing Stalker Gamma. That's why the titanium grid is a must have at all times. I'm not gonna take it off ever. And if you're just starting out, you're gonna have the plus 5 kilograms, and then you can upgrade it to plus 15, which is a lot of heavyweight that you can carry on your back. And now talking about the Kevlar plates. The moment you can get the Kevlar plates, same as the titanium grid, get it and immediately upgrade it using the basic tools to create the modified Kevlar plate. Now talking about the rest of the devices. The Camelback, I don't like it. It's pointless. 11 stamina recovery doesn't really do shit in this game. Stamina recovery in general doesn't do a lot in this game, so it's just taking up a belt slot, which is very important at the beginning because it don't have a lot, and it's just useless. I never use it. You can do whatever the fuck you want. This is just my opinion. And then the aluminum frames. Again, plus 6 psychic resistance. I can just take some pills and I'll have even more. I don't see the point of this taking up a belt space if I can just take a pill and do the same. Now the Freon mission is very situational. If you're having problems and your gear is not good for radiation, for whatever reason, I would advise you to use it, or at least have it in your backpack for those areas which have a lot of radiation. Personally, I've never needed it. Same with the body cooler. I mean, chem resistance is amazing, but you kind of get it from the surge thingy. The bleeding control and health restoration are good. They're good. The bleeding control more than health restoration, because health restoration is kind of useless unless you need it for certain artifacts which take your health down, and then it negates that effect. So if you ask me, this is top tier, this is poop tier, this is poopiest tier, this is situational artifact hunting at all times. And now I'm gonna show you the presets that I recommend at early game, mid game, late game, and late game. which is like super late end game. You are probably gonna start with an armor that has only 2 belt attachments, because that's how it goes. Now, assuming you're gonna grind out some quests and get to supply level 2 pretty fast, you're gonna buy this from the trader. I'm also assuming that you already have the basic tools. You're gonna buy this Kevlar plate from the trader as soon as possible, which is pretty early on. You're gonna use the workshop, you're gonna go to the devices. Here in the equipment, you're gonna upgrade it just like so, and you're gonna slap it on. And then, if you have a lurker hide, you take the lurker hide. This hide is perfect for everything a beginner needs. It has the radiation resistance, carry weight, and stamina, because you won't have a lot of stamina when you're starting out, because you need to like raise the skill and shit. But if you don't have the lurker hide, you use the titanium grid for the extra 5 carry weight. You can also craft the surge suppressor, and if you want to go artifact hunting, you're just gonna switch the grid with the surge suppressor just like so, because the grid gives you minus 12 electrician resistance and you don't want it to interfere with the surge suppressor. So basically, I recommend this flow right here. And eventually you're gonna upgrade your starting armor to have 3 belt slots, and then this is the preset you want to use. Okay, now moving on to mid-game belt items. Assuming you already have the advanced tools and you even crafted a heavy armor repair kit, and you can fix something like the hybrid suit. Now the hybrid suit is one of the best heavy armor suits out there, because you can even make it 5 belt slots. For example, I did not make mine 5 belt slot, I did not feel the need to. So with 4 belt slots, you want to upgrade your titanium grid, you want to upgrade your plate, and you want to maybe find a better quality lurker hide. It's still a good hide, but if you already encountered a lot of pseudo-giants or chimeras and got a decent quality hide from them, it's better to use one of them. So for fighting, I'll take the pseudo-giant for the rupture and ballistic resistance. And for carry weight and health regeneration, I'm gonna take the chimera. This is for looting, basically. Usually I roam around with the pseudo-giant, but again, if you don't have these, it's totally fine. The lurker is all that you need. And if you're going artifact hunting and you have only this suit and you decided to do it with this suit, or let's say with the other suit, with the scientific one, you can take the surge one, the upgraded version, and a Psy-Dog fur, which basically adds up to all elemental protection. And bam, this is for artifact hunting. And if you're not artifact hunting and you're just doing your thing, the last slot or the last 2 slots are up to you. They're basically situational. If you want more ballistic resistance, I would put a ballistic resistance artifact over here. If you want to have more radiation resistance, I'm gonna make the improved Fion emission thingy. And you can also make the improved body cooler. If you ask me, this is how I go. I keep in mind that you maybe only have 4 belt slots, so I take an artifact which upgrades our ballistic and rupture resistance. This is my go-to. Moving over to end game. The early end game, you just got your hands on expert tools, you fixed up an exoskeleton, and you have the magnificent 5 belt slots. Well, we are keeping our carbon steel plate. We're gonna make it the best plate there is. We're keeping the titanium grid because we love loot. And then we have the option to either use the pseudo-giant hide, like I said before. We are abandoning the lurker one, or using the chimera hide. Now, chimera hide is mostly for carry weight, and this is for fighting. The pseudo-giant is very good for ballistic and rupture resistance. And now I'm assuming that by this point you may have enough artifacts to create a tier 4 artifact. Now I suggest the Volat Emerald. This is hands down, in my opinion, the best artifact there is. It has so many crazy benefits, while the only thing you actually lose here is radiation resistance. Right now I'm not wearing a helmet and I'm still on 43. If I wear my helmet, I go to like 90 with this artifact. The worst radiation resistance it gives is worth the 50% on all elemental and 20% psychic resistance with raised cap and with weight carry. This artifact is a must-have in my opinion. And now going back to the last slot, I'm assuming you can also make a tier 3 artifact by now. Now you usually see me playing around with the black spray because I love the psychic resistance and I love to have impact cap and impact resistance in case I go into like a gravitational anomaly while sprinting and looking at my phone or whatever. But full empty, and hear me out, it might have -3 to health restoration, and you put it in and it immediately start draining your health. It's not draining as fast as you think. You'll probably lose health to something else before you even feel the need to heal yourself because you're having this artifact on you. Now, a good thing to know though, you might die if you fast travel somewhere because it's gonna make time pass and you're gonna have your health going down. So keep in mind, when you fast travel and you have something that takes away your health, you're gonna die. You can always, if you fear, take off the pseudo giant pelt, put the chimera hide, which negates and gives you health restoration +4, while this does -3. And then you have the crazy ballistic and explosive resistance that the full empty gives, while not fearing for your life at all times. But I usually just do this and that. And when I fast travel, I just unequip and I usually just roam around with the black spray, and then I remember that I have this, and yeah. And now the moment you've all been waiting for, what I think is the latest of games, the best of compositions, the ballistic of resistances. It's basically what I think will work best on your belt to become a full-fledged tank. So you want to start with the compass. Yes, it does -5 health restoration, and also bleeding control is out of control, but who cares? We are gonna be immune to bolitos. With that, you want to put a full empty, which basically does the same thing, and a goldfish, which also does the same thing. A volat emerald, we cannot go without it because we want our elemental and psychic resistances high up there. And now, without further ado, as you can see, this thing really cannot work by itself because, first of all, the chimera skin alone cannot hold the line. It just can't. There's too much minus health restoration on this thing. So what I tell you, you need to do, and this is the end game, everybody, you have to use our little friend, the knot. If you don't know, this is what sinners use to be sinners, and they actually start their campaign with it. Not that they have a main quest line, but that's for another video. You want to take this and put it right over here. And after hearing this creepy laugh, you can just keep it in your backpack and put the chimera skin back on, and voila, everybody, your health is gonna stay like this and go up. So basically, we brought ourselves to 84 body and 83 head resistance for ballistics, the maxed out 86 out of 86 explosion resistance, 70 out of 70 rapture resistance. And we do not need the pseudo giant hide anymore as we are capped, so it doesn't really do anything. So chimera skin for the win, you get the bonus carry weight and you get the health restoration to help negate all this minus health restoration artifacts. And now, not only you can carry around almost 300 kilos because of this, you also take so much less damage from shots and everything else. Now, if you want to know what this does, it becomes the Lucifer, and then you have to feed it artifacts every once in a while. If it goes below 51 condition, you start getting negative effects, which is a big no-no, and you cannot throw it away. It stays like this and here forever and ever and ever, and you basically have to finish the game with this in your backpack. That's why I said super late game. You have to make a choice over here. And yeah, that's it. That's about it. And this was it for the video. Now I'm gonna test my build up and see if I can destroy the duty. But bro, that did no damage. But before I leave, have a great whatever time you're having. Peace.
Там уже, пидор! Да сдохни ты там уже, пидор! Да сдохни ты там уже, пидор!
Did somebody say tank?